Three, four.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Born Offside. It has been about a week that we haven't been with you. That's because a lot of stuff has happened. And when a lot of stuff happens, certain folk wish not to be disturbed, should we just say. Is that the rightest thing?
Are you going to ambush me now or later?
I feel like just going... I wasn't going to. I thought we'd start and do the running order.
No, come on, do it.
Do it. I thought,
I've not even seen it. I have not even seen it. I know what happens.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
All right.
I don't
Okay.
want to see it. I have no opinion on it. You can talk about it if you want to for 5 minutes. I will turn my camera and my microphone off, and I will read this book.
All right.
Go on.
The year of living languishly. Did that say languishingly? Danishly. All right, like Dan.
Or
all right.
Danishly. Like
Danish. Like a Danish? What? Like a croissant? Like.
Please.
Yeah. I thought so. Yeah, you
like
crazy
Dan the man from Denmark. Mate, go ahead and discuss Tottenham versus Southampton. I will read this. Let me know when you're done.
When things like happen, when it's a little bit like a train crash, isn't it? And when you know it's going to happen, when you see it's going to happen, and when it happens, after the train crash happens, but you survive it, you don't really want to talk to anyone for a period of time, too. You just want to sort of kind of take a back seat and move along and move aside. Honestly, I've been thinking about this all week on how to be able to approach this. As you all know, as many of you know, Tottenham. David is a Tottenham fan, and I'm a Southampton fan, and we came head to head. And for the first time in 10 years, or something ridiculous like that, Southampton won. They beat Tottenham 2-1 at the St Mary's. Aptly sounded because obviously Tottenham were in need of divine intervention, but sadly they obviously decided to put in an application for the devil instead. And they played like angels in the first half, I'd say. But then in the second half, naughty, Mr. Sissoko and Mr. Rose, aptly named as well. There's a lot of people that should have been sent off in that match. Mind you, some Southampton fans would probably agree with me that Romeo was also lucky to be on. But I think we'll discuss that a little bit later on. Mate, why don't we get stuck into the running order instead, and we'll tackle the Premier League a little bit later on. Southampton 2, Tottenham. Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you still going?
You got a new stadium to look forward to very soon, so that's okay. Don't worry. I'm trying to think of the positives.
I've discovered that Lego was invented in Denmark. Carry on.
Whoa! Well, look at that. You see, the podcast that keeps on giving. Lego was invented in Denmark. Thank you very much, mate. Let's start where we need to start, which is the Champions League. Tonight saw the victory of Liverpool over Bayern Munich from the Allianz Stadium. And it's funny because in the Allianz Stadium in Italy as well, some other stuff happened.
I went back to my book.
How many Allianz stadiums are there out there? And Allianz must be very happy, I should imagine. Juventus are through. Bayern Munich, however, are out. Let's talk about that one very quickly, though, tonight.
This was a really good week for you, wasn't it? Not only did Tottenham Hotspur somehow manage to lose to South Bloody Hampton, but Cristiano Ronaldo scores a fucking hat-trick. And Juventus aptly named the old lady. Why are they called the old lady? Because fuck them. That's why.
What's that got to do with anything?
I don't know.
Aptly called the old lady because fuck them. Right, yeah, well, great explanation on that one. Dig into your history.
I hate Juventus. I hate Juventus. I hate Ronaldo. I hate everything. I hate... Oh...
All right,
rubbish.
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it has not been a good week for Dave at all, really. It has been off the back of a pretty bad week before that as well. It's probably been 2 pretty abysmal weeks. Mate, it can only get better. Or can
come on. Let's be fair. Let's be fair.
All right, okay.
We are in,
Dangerous times?
statistically and demonstrably one of the best 8 teams in Europe. I mean,
demonstrably, I like it. Yeah.
I mean,
let's demonstrate to everyone.
who are the best 8 teams in Europe now? Us and 7 others.
Southampton, because we beat you. So
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a good try anyway for me.
Mate, one thing I do want to talk about is half, 50%, 5 and 10.
Yes.
Of the 4 and 8 of the teams in the quarterfinal of the Champions League.
Yes.
Are not English, meaning that the other half are English.
Mate, I don't think there was any choice on the not English side of things. We only had 4 representatives anyway. There was no way we'd be able to get to this stage. We're talking fractions here. And by fractions, I don't mean... it's amazing. It's the first time in 10 years. Do you remember 10 years ago? Can you name me the teams / even some of the players who were playing 10 years ago when there were 4 teams?
What are we talking? So we're talking 2008, 2009.
Yep.
So that year it would have been Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool, I guess.
Man U? Did you say Man U?
Are you? Yes. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking it up. Yeah. Yes, well done. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool. Well done.
That was the year when John Terry hit the post in the final.
Yeah. We can't be forgetting stuff like that, can we?
That was.
Mate, but he slipped as well, didn't he? He slipped when he took the penalty. And weren't there...
tripped over by his guilt over what he did to Wainbridge.
I don't think he'll ever be guilty about that. But I'm sure Wainbridge, at least in his loony asylum, wherever he is today, he was able to, have a little bit of a chuckle at least. He thought justice was served. But yeah, there was lots of those do not slip signs, or be careful, the floor is wet signs made with the picture of John Terry slipping. And of course, that was before Steven Gerrard took that accolade off him. Quite the year, obviously, and it really was a fantastic time. I remember being extremely excited at the time. Of course, 3 of them got through to the semi-finals as well. And it was Man United beating Barcelona in that as well. So, mate, what odds do we have on a repeat for this year? What do you think?
Well, chances are at least 2 of them are going to draw each other, which is just horrible. They should make I hate, it's not just when 2 English teams draw each other. Like, when you've got, 2 Spanish teams playing each other, it's just it's not European football. It's a La Liga game on a Wednesday night. It's wrong.
It is very true. It's a bit like at least save it for the final, right? Real
that's
versus
even
Atletico,
worse.
That's fine.
2 teams from the same country playing each other in the final. I hate it.
Yeah.
You remember when Dortmund played Munich in the final?
Oh, yeah, that was
rubbish.
Horrible. Yeah, no, that wasn't very nice.
It's like watching a Bundesliga game on a Saturday night in a little bit of sunshine. It was rubbish, I tell you.
And of course, we had the Man United versus Chelsea.
Rubbish
as well. Well,
it was. It was rubbish. Well, that was nice.
Yeah,
but it was just like, am I watching the FA Cup? Oh no, it's the Champions League.
Champions League. It does give you that feeling that nobody else in Europe cares. Then, doesn't it? It's like. No one's going to watch it. No one's going to watch it. At least if there's some kind of a rivalry between the countries, then, you're going to get other people pulling in from different countries to want to watch it, and it should be a good match. But if it's the same teams from the same country, yeah, absolutely. It's just not going to. Chances are you're right. At least in this quarterfinal, at least two are gonna face each other. Those are the chances. But I mean, heck, what if none of them did? You know, what if it was an English team in every single pot for the quarterfinals, and then, oh mate, what if it was 4 English teams in the semi-finals? I mean, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I'd
want Man United.
You want Man United? Out of the 4 that would be left,
yeah, because Man City and Liverpool are better than we are.
They're better than everyone, so it really would not be fun at all. And of course, in the final, anything can happen, right? So, well, not against Man City.
Anything bad?
Yeah, most bad things. All right, mate. Well, let's talk about very quickly about tonight's match. Liverpool obviously threw against Bayern Munich. There was a lot of speculation, and Jurgen Klopp wasn't very happy before this match, was he? He was, and he hasn't been very happy in recent weeks. He seems to be thinking that he's doing a bit of a Mourinho, like everyone's against him, and people are rubbing him up the wrong way, and he's coming out in the press and telling everyone that, if this wasn't Liverpool, you wouldn't be talking like that sort of stuff, and this is how it is. And he goes on rants and raves.
That's just Liverpool. I mean, the whole city. Like, if you're not in Liverpool, no one else talks like that. Only they talk like that. Only they decide to use the word book and go book. Like,
Buke.
only book.
You threw the book at him. Oh no, that's not.
That's Scottish. Book.
So true.
Stevie Gerrard.
Is there something, mate? I was listening to Paul Ince the other night on a rival podcast. I don't know why I was doing that. I think I was drunk, and he was talking a little bit about that, and he didn't really sort of understand a little. But he was talking about like why everyone in Liverpool is so negative about what's going on, about this whole title race at the moment, and how the whole city is negative, and it seems like everyone else outside of Liverpool are the positive ones. Actually, it's not that way at all, isn't it? There's a lot of negativity towards the possibility that Liverpool might win. It seems like most of the country doesn't want that to happen, but before this year, Liverpool were kind of everyone that classic everyone's favorite second team type thing, where everyone felt sorry for them a little bit, and they came close, they never did it, and they're not bad. At least me myself personally, I don't have anything much against Liverpool apart from the fact that they steal all of our players. But I actually hate Everton more for what they did with Koeman than what Liverpool have done with the players. I think the players, screw them. We can keep sort of the revolving door going, I guess. But I feel worse about Everton with the Koeman saga, and with Tottenham with the Pochettino saga. But with Liverpool, this year everyone seems to want Liverpool to fail, and it's a very Man United thing going on. And why is that? What's happening?
Why does everyone want Liverpool to fail? I'm not sure if they do. I feel like the team is a little less lovable than it was last year, because last year it was like madness. It was really like, yeah, boys, yeah, let's go, yeah. Boss, are we going to defend? 9.
No.
No defending.
Maybe that's why he delayed the transfer of Van Dijk for so long. It was like, hey, we can get Van Dijk this summer.
No. 9.
No.
Yeah, now it's much too fun. Next year I will do and see defending, but this year is having fun. Yeah.
In January, Klopp, we've got to get him, okay? We've got to get Van Dijk. I'm sorry. We can't do... Oh, all right. But I'm not happy.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I watched the entirety of the match tonight, and Liverpool were a lot better than Bayern Munich. A lot better than them. Scored 3 good goals. Even Van Dijk's header from the corner was a lovely goal. Mate, it has to be said.
He rose, didn't he? He rose.
Oh, he rose imperiously. He is a brick shit house. He is. He's just a massive lump. Mate, there's one way of looking at tonight's game. which is, a similar narrative to last week, which is that three former Southampton players have put a team into the quarterfinal of the. Three goals from two former Southampton players. Like, mate, can you imagine, like, a team right now? Like, you could be looking at. I mean, you could have Nathaniel Klein at right back. You could have Gareth Bale at left back. Van Dijk in the middle. Dusan Tadic running things up front with Ricky Lambert and Adam Lallana coming off with Mane. Oh, mate.
Mate, we'd have Dejan Lovren as well, so that wouldn't be good. There are good things. There are good things about selling our best players.
For every Dusan Tadic, there's a Dejan Lovren. Yeah.
Right, get that on a T-shirt. Yeah, no, look, I agree. Look, we were already doing this. Southampton fans have been doing this for seasons now. Every time, a few left and they did so well somewhere else. Theo Walcott on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like on the bench with the water, serving it to the others. He's become a bit of a desperate disappointment, hasn't he?
Chambers.
I don't think we should be No, Chambers is doing quite well this year. Why are we going through all Southampton players? There was the Champions League.
Yeah. Stop.
Last 16. They were a lot better. Getting back to your original question, Jürgi Klopp was a little bit low key in his celebrations for him, because like going to Munich for him, like he hates Munich in the same way I hate Arsenal. They might not be relevant right now, but like the deep-seated hatred in the bottom of the pit of his soul is surely for Bayern Munich. No, as a Dortmund manager, as a Mainz player, his whole life, he must dislike those angry, arrogant Bavarian bastards. He must have gone there tonight, and he must have been thinking, "Oh, it's the Premier League. It's not on. What am I doing? Champions League. Where are we going? Millie, where are we going? Where are we going? Oh, we're going to Munich, boss. Munich! Yeah! Nein!
No!
Munchen! Yes! Some bastards in Munchen! Like...
He must have been, you're right. He must have been loving it. Because...
But he didn't give it as much love. Like, Klopp gives you a full card. Klopp will run on the pitch for a Divock Origi header. That's what Jurgen Klopp will do. And today, there was a Sadio Mane, like, all right, Neuer's gone a bit nuts for the first goal, but Sadio Mane does ever so well, dinks it in lovely. Van Dijk rises imperiously like a really large salmon with a very bad haircut at the back post. and then, like, Salah, who I thought was fairly rubbish all evening, plays a gorgeous pass for Sadio Mane. 3-1 in their own backyard, and all Jurgs does is a little bit of a kind of like under the skirt fist bump. Like, just like arms down by his side, double fisted. All right, I like that. But come on, give me some Tardelli. Give me some fucking Tardelli. Come on. You're going to go there, you beat them, you stuff them in your own backyard. Later on, when you get a glass of wine with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, you're going to give me the fucking Tardellis. Come on.
Mate, do you think that he probably learned a little bit from Diego Simeone's celebration in the first leg?
Mate, that was the single greatest shame of last night, is that tie is now going to be remembered for Cristiano Ronaldo's hat-trick, and not for one of the greatest celebrations of all time.
Especially because he's been mocked over that celebration.
It's not right. It's not right to mock a man who innovates, who brings a new level, who's out there, who's an artist, who's creating. Like, before Diego Simeone, we didn't have the love heart ball celebration.
That's very true. This was a first. Well, I mean, just to wrap up on Klopp, though, very quickly, he did do a bit of celebrating at the end, but I think there's a very big possibility. When you go back to one of your enemies and inside you're feeling it, but you just feel as though got to be a little bit careful. Like, you don't want to be seen as going overboard, right? So, of course, you're happy. Of course, you celebrate. And he went and celebrated with the fans, and he did his whole classic "Ray" thing at the end. But he didn't. He possibly just didn't want to, to rub it in. So it's a slight, nice, humanaic side of it. Had it been Simeone, had it been Gennaro Gattuso, we wouldn't have seen. Can you imagine that? No chance at all. It would have been straight in there. Even Ronaldo, I think that's the way it happens. But yeah, mate, it's pretty amazing. We've got 4 English teams in the Champions League quarterfinals for the draw tomorrow. Mate, you must be excited. I think, as a Tottenham fan, you're part of a Champions League lineup, which is really beautiful, actually. It's got some great teams in there, and it's
Porto. They do bring it down a little, don't they? Porto.
They do. You're right. It's like having Fenerbahce in there or something.
Oh,
yeah, you're right.
It's
not nice.
No one wants
it's not. Nobody wants that.
Can we swap them for Benfica?
Yeah. No. Oh God, no. What are you talking about? It's horrible. Stop. Mind you, they're both as bad as each other for me. I just wish both of them weren't in there at all. I mean, Roma would have been better. It would have been better if it was Roma. That would have been nicer.
Would have taken Roma.
It's the first time in many, 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 many years, and I didn't do my research on this, but the first time in many, many years, but there's no team from Madrid. Being in Barcelona, where you are tonight, where, by the way, Barcelona, we haven't even talked about it, and probably not even worth it, won 5-1 against Lyon. Some people were putting hopes on the possibility of an upset. Absolutely no chance. They got spanked a little bit like Schalke got spanked last night.
I watched the highlights of that game before we came on here, and Barcelona went 1-0 up with a
Coutinho. Oh no, Messi.
Messi with a Panenka. Yeah. Oh, mate. He even, like, the thing with Messi is he puts a little gloss of class on everything. Just a little brush of class. Because he didn't just Panenka, it was the daintiest. It was a nice goal, and then Suarez, who played well for once, sets up Coutinho. But then Lyon pulled a goal back, and for 20 minutes or so, Barcelona were on edge. Lyon just needed one goal. I mean, such is the away goals rule, which I think I've spoken at length of my sheer and utter disdain for the away goals rule. I think I hate the away goals rule more than I hate Cristiano Ronaldo. Which is saying a lot. Oh, I hate
that. Is saying a lot. Yes.
I mean, why is a goal in someone else's stadium worth more than a goal in your own stadium? Like, do you, mate, as a prolonged and viable football fan, if you were to go away to Pompey and score a goal, or if you were to score a goal at home to Pompey, would you celebrate either one with any more vigour than the other? It doesn't matter. Like, a goal is a goal. It doesn't matter where you score it. It matters when you score it. It doesn't matter where you score it.
I know what you're saying. The argument is that, it's until we find a better way of being able to sort these things out. This has been in place for many, many years. And I remember thinking when I first sort of started to think, probably when I was about 15 or 16, when my brain actually started to work properly, and I started to think about rules of football and stuff. I do remember thinking at that time that I didn't know why that was the way, and that should change, but it hasn't changed. It's been in place for many, 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 many years. So I'm with you. I get it, but until we find another way to be able to sort it out, it's not.
There is another way. Just cancel them and have penalty shootouts
straight away. I guess so. Yeah. I guess so. Just cancel them. Yeah.
Or have another game.
Why? Yeah. Why not?
On a neutral venue.
Why doesn't England get rid of the League Cup as well? That's these questions are just mysterious.
Mate, they should let us sort out football. I do the following: I would abolish the away goals rule. I would
eliminate the League
Cup, and I would make Sergio Ramos and Cristiano Ronaldo watch every game from a VIP box
and do documentaries at the same time whilst their team lost. Yes. Mate, we covered that in the last one, but what a beautiful one, just to go in there and remind everybody that Sergio Ramos is not going to get his filthy mitts on that Champions League trophy, is he now? So
he's not, but the Portuguese one might do.
He might.
The game, can we cover like last night's game now?
Yes, please. Let's do it. Yeah.
It had a horrible, horrible air of inevitability about it. It was just sickening. I put the television on, and my beloved other half, she said to me, "Are you watching the football?" And I went, "Yes." She was like, "Are you watching Tottenham?" I was like, "No, I'm not watching Tottenham. I'm watching Juventus versus Atletico Madrid." "Well, those aren't even English teams." "Yes, but you see that ugly fucker on the screen right now?" And she went, "Oh yes, there's Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, tonight is a night when he might have to go home, so I'm going to be watching it."
Or even cry. He might even cry.
and then it was on, and I was, kind of doing some other stuff and walking around, and one of the moments I was like walking around the room, the TV suddenly went, "Ronaldo!" And my beloved other half, she went, "Oh."
I can imagine the silence in your house after she said, "Ooh."
I was like, ugh. And by the time, I want to ask you about this, because on the feed of the game that I watched, the third goal, the penalty, and by the way, Juventus were a lot better than Atletico Madrid. I was actually really quite upset with how bad Atletico Madrid were, having been a lot better than Juventus in the home leg, or at least the second half of the home leg. But anyway, I mean, Juventus fully merited the win. But I thought that the penalty, from what I saw, Bernardeschi tripped himself up.
So the argument is, was he pushed in order to then trip himself up? I think there was possibly a coincidental moment where both were happening at the same time, and that he was actually tripping himself up. And then luckily there was a hand on the back, because that went to VAR, and they saw the hand on the back, and they just said, look, if there was no hand on the back, then absolutely that's no penalty. Of course, he's tripped himself up. But because there's the hand on the back, they're fully justified in giving it, right? It's almost like this VAR thing has come in and sort of, well, here's the evidence. Now you guys have got no excuse to tell us that we're wrong, kind of attitude.
Is there not a rule that we can bring in, which is whereby, like, hey fellas, VAR this, will you? And for God's sake, find a way to rule it out, because if you let it happen, he's going to score a hat-trick and we won't hear the end of it.
Wait, just taking it off a little bit. Did you see there was a classic, I think it was a La Liga match, where there was a VAR decision and they panned to the VAR room and there was nobody in there? Did you see that? It was empty. There was
they go for a coffee break, aren't they?
They go for a coffee. That was midweek, I think. That was classic. Yeah. Yeah, maybe there should be. There should be.
I propose that between the stadium, and because the VAR is like in a centrally located remote area, right, to be sheltered from the stadium. So it's like three blokes in this highly secure Swiss bank accounty type room, from what I can remember.
Bombed.
So they can't get bombed. They're miles underground. They can't react. There's no social media. They don't know what's going on. They wear the referee kit just to get in the mood. And I propose that between the two, there is a mobile tactics truck, perhaps driven by Andy Townsend, that houses me and you, and we watch it and we go, like almost like a narrative center, and we're in charge of the narrative, and like I can imagine we'd have conversations which would go like, because you're a very honest man, almost to a fault, and you would say something like, "Well, looks like a penalty to me," and I would go, "Yes, but Jay, if we allow it, if we allow this, then this team is going to be like this," and you're going to go, "Oh, I don't want that," and I'm going to go, "See what I'm talking about? Give me the radio." And
we
I
need
will
sense.
take the radio, and I will go, "Oi, fellas, fuck this one up, all right? Look the other way. Go get yourself a coffee. Don't worry, I won't let the cameras pan to you. No worries."
Oh dear, mate, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that yeah, we would throw havoc onto the whole thing because we are only looking at the narrative of it from our.
I mean, like it's 2-1 to Man City in a game. Like Sergio Aguero goes over in the penalty area, blatant penalty, goes to VAR. If it's 3-1, game over. No pen.
It's very true. Yeah, no pen. No pen. No pen. No pen. Mate,
game would be dull. Game would be dull. Repeat. Game would be dull.
Raheem Sterling's first goal on the weekend against Watford, when that happens, what was the point in watching the match anymore? It's exciting. And the horrible thing about that, and we'll get onto that a little bit later, is that it was a wrong decision, of course, as well. So VAR in place can fix stuff as well. But mate, grown men were crying in Turin yesterday. I mean, there were people in tears in the stadium. How can you say
I was in tears either?
Now, yeah, well, there you go. And there's an emotion that you would be depriving yourself of had you had narrative control of the VAR box from the outside. I'm with you.
No, you're not. You're very much against me. You're very, very much against me. You loved it. Like after he puts the third in, you got your little Ronaldo bronze statue out and you started polishing it.
What, that one with the dodgy face?
Yeah. Yeah. Mate, in my mind, because they replaced that, right? They made that statue at the Madeira airport, and they replaced it. In my mind, the old one is in your cupboard somewhere. Like you've written off to them and gone, "What you're going to do with that statue?
Can I have it, please?"
And Madeira have gone, "Sure."
We were only going to melt it back down.
I mean, you are Portugal's second most famous podcaster.
Well, thank you very much. Who's the first one?
That fella. What was his one? The one who went on CNN. What's he called?
Oh, Pedro Pinto. Yes, there you go. Pedro Pinto. Hi, Pedro. Yeah, it's very, very true, mate. And do you know what? That statue, that bronze of Cristiano Ronaldo, I actually have it in my bathroom, and it's by the mirror. As well, I've got a mirror on the wall and stuff and everything. It's by the mirror, and when I open the door in the morning, whenever I open the door and switch the lights on, there he is. So it's a bit of a kind of like.
Stop there.
Didn't you go to bed? Didn't you go to bed last night, Chris? Didn't you sleep, Chris? No. Mate, it's let's wrap up the Champions League very, very quickly. And Man City 7-0 versus Schalke. There wasn't really any kind of. It just wasn't.
How many goals have Man City scored this week? How many goals have Man City scored this week? 11.
I've lost count, and I don't know why I should even try to even attempt to remember.
What's the point in 11 goals a week? Sorry, that's taking the piss. Stop it.
It is. As we discussed earlier, Tottenham obviously are through with their 1-0 victory against Borussia Dortmund. That's really good. The surprise and the loving, I think the overall loving kind of aspect of the Champions League is Ajax's progress through against Real Madrid. That's the one where everybody who is outside of one of the teams that are in the Champions League is probably showing most love towards.
We're all Ajax fans.
We are
Ajax fans now.
We have to be, really. We have to be. Of course.
And what we really want is them up against Juve. Like the people's favourites. against the pantomime villain bastards from the north.
Is there only one pantomime villain left? There is, isn't there now? It's Juventus and nobody else. Oh, it's Barcelona. Yeah,
a little bit, but less so. Yeah, I think Juve are the bad guys left in it. PSG have been knocked out. Munich have been knocked out. Real Madrid have been knocked out. Those were the really kind of like team. Yeah. True. Really, Juve. Oh, I'd love Juve to get City. Oh, that'd be nice.
If there's one team Juventus are probably praying that they don't get right now, it's got to be Manchester City, right?
Oh, let's have that. Oh, can I have that? Let's get in our tactics truck. Let's call up Andy Townsend. Let's drive off to the Champions League. Little balls, and you and I fix the balls. Oh,
mate. Speaking of Pedro Pinto is
5. Juventus.
Mate.
Ball 6. Liverpool. No, put that back.
Put that back.
Pedro, recycle that.
It's him who does it. He's the guy who does it.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
It's him and Gianluigi Fantino.
Yeah, that's right. He just stands there. He doesn't actually pick the balls. They usually pick someone like Fat Ronaldo to come up and do that. There's like every week's a different. Hey,
gotta love him.
Ronaldo. What did you do since last year's World Cup? Nothing, boss. Come on.
Mate, we should look up who's done the most draws. That's
a good idea. Yeah. Oh, mate.
Leonardo always gets dragged out for those things, doesn't he?
He does, doesn't he? Where is he nowadays?
I think
another discussion for another
managing
time.
director at AC Milan, I think.
AC Milan or PSG? AC Milan. It's AC Milan. Yeah.
Milano.
Hey. Mate, and one quick game that we didn't talk about was the Man United against PSG match, because we obviously didn't we didn't talk about that, did we? So,
mate.
Now we have a general hatred for both those teams.
Yeah, but actually, Man U this year, maybe.
Did you feel sorry for them?
No, but they've been shit for a while. And they've gone through Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho and David Moyes. And that's you wouldn't wish that on most people. It's pretty bad. So,
punishment.
All right.
5 years.
Right. Have a look at it, Solskjaer. Go on, have yourself. Go on.
Buy
yourself an ice cream. Go play with a little Norwegian fella. Off you go. And, there aren't any really, dislikable characters. Let's go through the Man United typical starting lineup. De Gea, bad haircuts, but not really, nothing really dislikable.
You're right.
Chris Smalling and Phil Jones are like the Chuckle brothers at the back. And then Luke Shaw, I always felt sorry for under Mourinho.
True, poor guy.
Pogba's Instagram is funny. Jesse Lingard is a bit odd and weird. Martial's French. I don't know, it's not like Man U of old where you had Keane and Scholes and Giggs and Cantona and real assholes. Real bastards. And so, I don't know, I don't hate Manchester United on the level that I did. Even Lukaku, you feel a little bit sorry for. However, that being said, that game last week.
Yeah.
If you're a PSG fan, you just must be thinking, who did we fuck over? What have we done? Because, they were miles and miles and miles the better team. There was, if you want, this is where the away goals rule was really a fucker. Because if you watch that game, the two games put back to back, they were so much better than Manchester. So much better than Manchester. And they only have themselves to blame on a lot of levels. The first goal that they conceded to Lukaku is a ridiculous pass across the back. The second goal is a 41-year-old gym teacher dropping the ball at the feet of Lukaku. Lukaku's got 2 goals in that game, and he must be thinking, are they just let me score them?
This is fun. I'm in Paris. This is nice.
They give me goals. I like this. This is fun. And then, there was
maybe you should go to La Liga. Not La Liga. Liga.
Liga.
revive his career.
There was a lot of debate about the Kimpembe penalty. But
what do you think of that, mate? What do you think of that? I mean,
I think the rule is stupid, but I think under the rule it was a penalty. But
next year they're going to reinforce that as well. Any contact with your hand to the ball, regardless of whether it's intentional or not. I think next year that's right, isn't it?
Here's the big problem. The two problems I have with it. One, Kimpembe is stupid. Why are you turning your back on that ball? I get the argument. He's turned his back on the ball, so therefore he can't control where his arm is. But why does
what do you want him to do? Like starfish? Which is
I want him to block a shot front on. like
yeah, but he's turned his back.
Don't turn your back.
But everybody does that. You don't want to get hit in the balls, do you? You know, that's what you do. You twist your body.
25 million people will watch the next Justin Bieber video release. Doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's the right thing, Jason.
You want to fight on. You do not want to get your testicles in the way of any flying object. Okay?
Right now, I give you the privilege to beam yourself inside the head of Kimpembe, and you can choose right now between that penalty not being awarded and you losing a testicle. You've one less ball, but that penalty was never rewarded, or you can have both your balls and you're out the Champions League. And I'm telling you right now, you would give up a ball.
What are you fucking... I thought you were going to say, and I'll have to sit you down and make you watch Justin Timberlake videos for the next year. You know?
No, it's nothing that bad.
Force feed you Iron Man Nutri-Grain.
Is give up a ball. That's all you have to do.
Give up a testicle to get into the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I mean, how old's Kimpembe? I'm sure he's got plenty more other opportunities to go for it. I feel bad for Kimpembe. Sorry, mate, I'm not going with you on this one, by the way. I will not lose a ball for that.
Mate, you have two children. What do you need another ball for?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've already got my two children. So maybe, and, it's been a bit hit and miss lately anyway for number 3.
Mate, the other problem I have with it is it hits his arm, which is down by his side, back turned.
Yep.
It doesn't warrant a penalty. Right? Like
no.
the punishment does not fit the crime.
The thing is, if it's outside the box, you give a handball, nothing's ever said about it. And then it's just like, yeah, it's a handball. That's fair enough. You can have a free kick on the edge of the box. Is it indirect then? And maybe the penalty should be indirect. Maybe they should do that.
I'll tell you now, it's one of the missing joys of football. Do you remember when the back pass rule came in, and like every game you would have like one defender who would pass it back and one goalkeeper who would forget about it.
Picked it up and like, fuck.
And then you would have the joy of an indirect free kick within the penalty area. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh,
mate,
I love it.
So. It just hasn't happened that much recently, has it? It's always fun. We love watching it, regardless of what the teams are. It could be Leyton Orient against Greenwood United. I'll still stop and watch just to see what happens, because you got 11 players from one team are on the line. The goalkeeper's in the middle there somewhere, not knowing what the hell to do and where to go, because you don't practice this stuff on the training ground, And then all the other team members are also in your box. They're all there. One guy, I don't know why, I've got an image of Lee Boyer standing over the ball, about to touch it to someone, about to touch it to someone else for them to have a crack, and
and you get to see. You get to see the defender who has a really hard shot. Because the collective intelligence of football players is such. Oh, hang on. What's this?
They've got 60 seconds to decide what to do as well.
It's a free kick, but it's in the penalty area. So it's just like a normal free kick. Yeah, but it's closer. Look how close the goal is. Should I try something subtle? No. Let's whack it. Who can whack it? Big Johnny. Get Big Johnny! Bring Big Johnny over.
Number 4? Yeah. Bring him over.
Always number 4. And he's huge. He's got the first touch of a... And it's just like,
Careful.
Sorry. The first touch.
I'll bleep that.
Please bleep that. And
when he walks up to the ball, if you're in that wall, you're like, no, Mary, I don't believe in you, but I will now. Please don't let it be me that the ball collides against.
And you're thinking, whack it really hard. And it almost never goes in. Almost never.
It's true. It's so weird. It always hits someone, doesn't it? Or, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, love it.
Mate,
love
the
it.
campaign starts here to bring back indirect free kicks inside the penalty area for handballs.
Sounds like a plan. Mate, let's wrap up the Champions League and let's move on, please, if you don't mind. The final point on this, once again, is that there are 4 English teams through to the quarterfinals for the first time. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be good. I really can't wait.
You want me to do my dream draw? Is that what you want? You want me to do my dream draw? All
absolutely. Right. Let's go for it.
Juve City.
Okay.
Juve City. Big guns. Get them in early.
Yep.
Tottenham Porto.
Yep.
Oh, lovely. Hang on. You want some more? What have I got left?
You've got Liverpool. You've got Barcelona. Barcelona would be quite tasty.
Yeah, I love that.
You got Juventus.
Liverpool.
Yeah, okay.
And that leaves what? Ajax United. Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
no. Yeah.
Oh,
This is the best part of the podcast where we make noises.
Versus Man U. What about Juventus? Oh, Juventus are playing City. Sorry.
Yes.
There you go. I've put it in the running order. So we'll check it next week when we come back.
Mate, if that comes true, we're looking at an Ajax, Tottenham, City, Barcelona, and then City can have Barcelona and we'll have Ajax and it's Spurs and Madrid and off we go.
Mate, you're jumping miles ahead. Mate, I'll tell you what, let's take a break and let's come back and discuss last week's shenanigans from the Premier League. And let's also discuss the rosy future of Tottenham moving into their new stadium. How about that?
That we can talk about.
That'll be good, yeah? And you can put your Danish, your being like Dan. That's what I thought. I thought it was a guy called Dan this year living like Dan. So it was Danish. I didn't know who Dan was. Seriously, that's exactly what I thought.
You're one of the people taking one of them free kicks. That's who you are.
I've been living outside of Europe too long. I think that's my problem. All right, let's take a short break and we'll come back and we'll discuss last week's Premier League shenanigans.
These 2 idiots seriously just don't stop. Indirect free kicks to make a comeback? Maybe death should make a comeback and take these 2 out for dinner.
Welcome back, ladies and jelly spoons. We are going to be discussing last week's Premier League action, and boy, was there a lot to go through. Manchester City won 3-1 against Watford. Boring. Liverpool won 4-2 against Burnley. Boring. We can make it exciting. We can talk about those matches if we want. Chelsea won. Wolves won was pretty fantastic. And David De Gea got wrong-footed by no other than Shakira's husband. It wasn't really Shakira's husband, but it was a guy that sounded a little bit like him. But the highlight of the weekend was undoubtedly, let's bring it on, the game on the South Coast at St. Mary's. Mauricio Pochettino coming back to Southampton, to his old club, but sadly having to sit to the right and behind of Daniel Levy, and next to a lady who I've never seen before, but who looked a little bit like someone who had been touted as the next headmistress for a dodgy school. Southampton 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Mate, I tell you what, you don't have to say anything at all. Let's just get straight stuck into this. And you're giving me a lot of license here because I was going to try to be as partisan as I possibly could and be as kind as I possibly could. But the truth is, Southampton haven't been able to beat Spurs for donkey's years. So this one was I'll be honest, it was particularly sweet. Now, I'll set the scene. The kickoff was at 2:00 in the morning down here in Melbourne. So I stayed up for it, and after the first half, where Tottenham should have been 7-0 ahead, we were only 1-0 ahead, 1-0 behind. And I was falling asleep. I then proceeded to text Dave and say, I'm going to bed. I've had enough of this crap. We're playing extremely badly. And I believe Dave thought that I had actually gone to sleep and that I wasn't going to watch the second half, which has been a sort of touch, a sort of Midas touch. If I don't watch the game, then Southampton win, And but the truth is, I actually somehow managed to stay awake, although I fell asleep during certain points of the second half until Southampton scored the equaliser through a rather comical Valerie goal on the back post, where 3 defenders from the Tottenham Hotspur side decided that they didn't want to clear a bobbling ball that was coming through. It was very, very comical. Valerie scored. It was 1-1, and suddenly it was time for Southampton to step it up. Up steps James Ward-Prowse, touted by many apparently as the next David Beckham, although we can talk about that in a second. I don't think he is. But a mini Letizia, I think he was mentioned on the BBC's Match of the Day. Up steps James Ward-Prowse to do a repeat of what he did at Old Trafford the week before and slam it past Lloris. 2-1 final score. Southampton beating Tottenham to dent their Champions League chances for next year. Not that was our priority. That's my bottom line. Control B, Control U. That is what I'm sort of saying here, because I don't want to make an enemy out of my good friend Dave over there, who's a Tottenham fan and who is about to tell us all the crap that's going through his mind. Go.
Did you know that Danish has 9 vowel sounds?
Are you talking about the culture and the people, or are you talking about the food?
No, I'm talking about the language. Danish has 9 vowel sounds, which is one of the reasons that English speakers find it so hard to speak Danish, because in English we only have 5 vowel sounds. So imagine having like almost double the amount of vowel sounds, and you're not really able to tell the difference between like one vowel sound and another vowel sound, which means that you don't really get good at speaking it. 80% of English as a first language speakers who move to Denmark never get like past basic Danish. Unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. Isn't Christian Eriksen Danish?
Fuck you.
Welcome to the football podcast, not the languages podcast. Nice attempt for a getaway.
Oh, well
no
played.
Chance.
Well played.
Pull you back down. Pull you back down. All right, mate, we'll do it quickly. All right, we'll do it quickly. I'll put out the old misery thing. And look, let me just put it into perspective just a little bit here. You guys are fighting for Champions League. We're fighting for survival here, okay? The win that we got against Tottenham, had we not won, we would have been in the relegation zone. Have a little bit of pity. Have a little bit of sympathy. Give us 3 of your points, please, at least. You guys are still in a great position to be able to qualify for the Champions League. All right?
You can have them. You can have them, but I just want you to know that it's not about Tottenham qualifying for the Champions League.
Okay.
It's about 2 of Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester United not qualifying for the Champions League.
All right. Okay.
That's what it's about. Like, I think we can all agree that we want to keep those scummy bastards out of Europe's premier competition.
You basically want to remain the first and best team in London, right? That's the whole thing. That's the whole plight and fight of it all.
We're not talking about Brexit here with a 48-52% net where people can't think of it. This is one of those things where the whole world pretty much unanimously agrees that you don't want Chelsea and Arsenal playing on anything other than Thursday nights.
That's horrible. Who would wish such a horrible thing on anyone? Nothing
Me?
more than playing on Thursday nights. It's what you get. That's all you get. Nothing else.
Nothing.
All right. Well, let's go over it very quickly from a professional standpoint and professional point of view, shall we? What happened to Tottenham in the second half of the match, so that we can just get it out of the way and we can talk about the rest of the Premier League and finish this off?
They lost.
They did. They lost rather abysmally. And you watched the whole of this match, of course, even though you and I conversed very minimally during it, because obviously it was a test of our friendship for probably years to come.
I was at a barbecue in the mountains getting drunk. I didn't even.
That's very true. When the match finished, I was ready to turn off my phone because it was 4:00 in the morning and it was time for me to go to bed. And I get a text message from Monsieur Le Dave over there, amply specifying the words "fuck you,"
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. So can you imagine? Just before
the very point
bed,
point of communication is to take the emotion that's sitting within you and deliver it unto a person who you think would benefit from hearing or reading that communication. I have fulfilled the basics of communication. My emotion at that time was fuck Jason. So I wrote to Jason, fuck you. Fulfilled.
It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Give me a certificate.
Oh dear.
No, you know why it was? Is because I knew that you'd done one of two things. Like, we were winning 1-0 at halftime, and clearly we're all over you. We should be doing like this. Is all reported what you had told me, and then you've gone, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you texted me that at halftime, I was like, that fucker. Wielding his "if I go to bed" power. And then what you actually did was even worse, because you wielded the "I'm going to bed" power, and then this is what must have happened. I'm not going to bed. I'll stay up. I'll get some ice cream. There you are, munching on your ice cream. Stay awake. And then Valerie scores, and you think, yes, come on, yes, let's text it. Oh, hang on. If I do that, I'll lose the gone to bed power.
Yes.
No, I must keep the gone to bed power. I will put the phone back down, and I will continue to eat my ice cream. James, what browsers just do? Yes! Come on! Text him. No. There's still time left. I could lose the gone to bed power. Eat the ice cream, Jason. Eat the ice cream. Full time! Yes! Let's text him. Fuck you. He's too quick.
That's exactly how it happened. Well done. Beautiful. That's very good. Come here. I'll cut that up, mate, and put that in a special.
I got it bang on, didn't I? That's exactly
You pretty much did. Although I think the ice cream was something different. Mate, it was 4:00 in the morning. I was eating ice cream at that point in time. I was honestly struggling to stay awake for pretty much most of that second half. Although I did stay awake. There were points where I thought this happens quite often as well. When I do that whole kind of wielding my going to bed power thing, I always watch the first sort of 5 minutes of the second half. And if the pattern is so obviously the same, I'm like, you know what, screw this. And then I go, sometimes someone in a dressing room somewhere puts a firecracker up the players' asses and they come out with a different mentality. Rarely, but sometimes it happens. And obviously it did for this. But there were points where I was going to text you and say, by the way, I'm still awake. And by the way, you guys better be careful because Southampton are actually looking like they're playing well. But I knew you were at a barbecue not watching anyway. So it was almost like, what's the point? It's not, He's getting drunk with whoever.
Don't try and give yourself excuses. You were
All
wielding
right.
I've gone to bed power, and you didn't want to curse it. You didn't want to jinx yourself. That's what you wanted. You didn't want to jinx yourself, and you were
very true.
clever and you were very smart, and you didn't jinx yourself.
That's very true.
Sneaky man.
All right, okay. Let's wrap that up and let's finish off here. I think it's a good place to finish.
We're done.
We're done. That's enough of it.
I'm going back to living Danishly.
Go on, you go back to living Danishly. I've been trying to think of positivity, for Spurs because I think I felt sorry for you. I think more than anything else. And do you want to quickly finish this off by talking about the new stadium in April, or do you want to just forget about it and only talk about it when it actually happens? There you go.
If it happens, I'll talk about it.
All right, sounds good. All right. Other stuff that happened over the weekend, Crystal Palace lost against Brighton. That was a bit annoying for Southampton fans all around. This is rapidly becoming the Southampton podcast. West Ham went to Cardiff and bloody well lost 2-0 as well. That was a punch in the face. Huddersfield could have done us a favour and beaten Bournemouth, but they did not. Bournemouth went out and stopped their rut. Mate, Leicester City beat Fulham 3-1. I guess the score's not a surprise, but the rat is back. Long live the rat. Anything to say about that?
In Denmark, there's 180% tax on new cars.
All right, okay. Let's finish off then today with a couple of little quick headlines, and we'll finish off. Ranieri is in Rome. Look out! Lock up your ladies, because Ranieri's back for the second time. Zidane, speaking of going back to clubs for the second time, is back at Real Madrid. Mate, what's going on there? I thought it was Mourinho. That would have been equally. Mourinho can't ever get a job ever again, can he? Unless it goes to late.
Mourinho thought it was Mourinho. Let's face it.
Yeah, he did. He really did. I think it's a bit of a slap in the face on that one. But yeah, Zidane's back. That's a bit of a. Okay, that's Florentino Perez kind of going. I screwed up, maybe a little bit.
Zizou.
Please.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Come back.
Get rid of Bale. Get rid of Ramos. Get rid of all of them. I don't care. You got war chest. I'll give you the war chest.
You can have Mbappe.
You can have it. You want Mbappe? We'll give you Mbappe.
Mbappe.
And then finally, look. Let's. Do you want to end on a sad note with fans running onto pitches or
and hitting Jack Grealish?
And hitting Jack Grealish. Do you want to? Yeah. And
all I would say is, however tempting it is, don't do it. It's wrong.
Don't do it. Regardless of how much you hate the football player that's in front of you. Cristiano Ronaldo, for example. Mate, Cristiano Ronaldo putting Tottenham out of the Champions League quarterfinals if they get drawn at the new stadium. Would you run onto the pitch and punch him in the back of the head? Sorry, I shouldn't do that. I'm so sorry.
I would hit him with a year of living dangerously.
That would be very interesting. I think people would be like, what's he done? With
Why
that, I think we've...
book?
Yeah, it's got to be a history behind it. We don't hate him or dislike him anymore. There's literature there. Mate, Tony Adams running onto the pitch and hitting someone with a book. There you go.
Martin Keown coming out the other side.
Sorry, Martin.
No, Keown hates books.
That's true. Yeah. Keown coming out the other side with with one of those cottonette buds that they have in fights for everyone. One of those big cottonette buds.
Lovely.
Lovely. Gladiators. All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to another somewhat bizarre podcast. They all seem to be on the somewhat bizarre side. It's probably about 7 o'clock in the morning now where Dave is, so he's got about 20 minutes to sleep before he goes to work. So it's thank you very much, everybody, for listening in and tuning in. We will be back possibly to preview this week's no, there's no football now. No discernible, valuable football anyway for the next 2 weeks, because there is a small matter of England. We might come on to have a quick chat about that, depending on how that all goes in the friendlies, and the FA Cup. So by the time we come back next time, we will know the FA Cup semi-finalists. Manchester City undoubtedly will have beaten whoever they're playing 200-0, and I'm rooting for Wolves this year. I'd like Wolves to win it. I really would. I think they deserve it on the back of the season that they've had, and they've definitely been the most entertaining team outside of the top 6 in terms of football to watch. So yeah, I hope they do. Till next week.
Come on, Wolves.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Oh, Daddy.
Hang on a second. 1, 2, 3. There's my son. Wave.
Did you hear that? Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Do you want to say bye today?
Bye.
Bye.